Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about rope length. It's something I get asked about all the time. Not only that, but it's also something that's really important to understand when you're starting out. So yeah, how long should your rope be? Now there isn't a right or wrong length, but generally speaking, your rope needs to be long enough that it passes comfortably underneath you, but also not so long that there's loads of excess rope hitting the ground or excess rope flying around above your head. If you do have excess rope, it'll be really difficult to maintain tension of the rope and keep that arc, which ultimately stops you from tripping. So obviously a big thing that will affect how long your rope is your height. But one thing that's also really important that a lot of people don't realise when they start is it's also down to your hand position and your form when jumping. So if you're completely new to jumping, you won't have established your form yet, you won't have established a position that's best for you to put your hands. So what tends to happen is the rope sort of dictates that for you. So you will naturally put your hands in a position that enables whatever length of rope you have to go round you without there being too much excess rope hitting the ground or going round above you, because you will naturally try and make the rope as taut as possible. Most people will anyway. And more often than not, beginners will start with a long rope, and that means that beginners often start with their hands quite far out to the side. You'll see here that I have to put my hands out to the side a bit to make sure there's not too much of it dragging on the floor. Whereas if I put my hands closer to my hips, you'll see that there's quite a bit of excess rope on the floor there. Having your arms out to the sides isn't most efficient, and it will make it difficult to execute tricks, especially in the long run when you want to learn things that are a bit more advanced. A long rope will also be more effort to move around you than a short rope will be, because physics. So obviously by holding your arms out to the side, you will be exerting a lot of energy from your shoulders, which are a large muscle group, so you will tire quite quickly as a result of that. Compared to holding the handles much closer to your sides and flicking the rope underneath you in a vertical way with your wrists loose and your elbows exerting most of the energy, that will not tire you as quickly. And also because you're able to keep your wrists loose, you'll just be able to rotate the rope more freely. With having a long rope and a wide arm position, you're also going to have to travel much further to execute tricks. So if we look at the crossover, for example, you can see when you're moving from the open position into the cross position, that's quite a distance to travel if you're jumping with your arms out to the side. You'll also want to keep a nice arc in the rope and again not have too much excess rope hitting the ground during the crossover. So you'll even need to make sure that when crossing, you cross far enough that there's enough tension in the rope, which means you're having to travel even further. So as I started to understand much more about this as I've been on my journey, I kind of started to realise that technique or form and rope length are a bit of a chicken and egg situation. It's like what should come first, because I don't believe that you can learn to have the best technique and form with a rope that's too long for you, but the technique and form that ends up being most efficient for you and what works for you will end up dictating your rope length. So it's a difficult one, basically. And you're probably here hoping I was going to tell you how long your rope should be. Well, I will touch on that, but I just think it's very important to understand all of this first. The general thing that floats about is that you should start with a rope that is 3 feet longer than your height, and that doesn't include the handles. I think that's reasonable for an absolute beginner. For somebody, if you've never picked up a rope before and you just want to get coordinated to start with, I think that's a really good start for your first couple of weeks of getting used to it. Based on my experience, if I could do this again, I would start with a rope which was 3 foot longer than my height. After I've got my coordination, I've got the basic bounce down and I'm doing quite a few in a row without tripping up. I would actually at that point look to shorten my rope by anywhere between half a foot and a foot, and then get used to that. So go back to things like toe catches and just drill and get the basic bounce again in that position, thinking about my arm position and being as close to my body as possible, because at that point I'm understanding the movement of the rope, I understand the feel of it, I'm able to jump it. It would just be a case of getting my arms used to that new position, and then I would start to chip away at the tricks and I'd start being a bit more adventurous with that. That's personally what I would do, and then I would have shortened gradually from that point, as I have done, because I think what I did was I actually spent a lot of time learning skills with a rope that was probably about 3 foot longer than my height, and then after a good amount of time of learning the crossover and EBs and various things, to then go and shorten my rope and have to learn those again was very frustrating. The most important thing of all though to take from this is to just understand it. I hope I've helped you to understand how rope length can have an impact on your jumping, and to at least experiment with it, because a lot of the ropes, especially the ones I recommend, the beaded ones and the PVC ones, they all come resizable. So just shorten it, don't cut off the excess, and do some drilling and see how you get on. See if it improves your overall jumping and your form. And then if you don't like it, just lengthen your rope again. It's not a big deal. But I hope this all makes sense, and I hope you've enjoyed this little insight. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you want to see more of these, and pop a comment below if you've got any more questions for me. I will see you in my next video.